Awesome. Welcome, everyone, to the latest iteration of the Earth and Space webinar. As always, we're focused on preparing the next generation for humanity's future in space. And increasingly, I'm looking at this as not just students in schools today, but as a lifelong learning element. Many of the folks who come with us, particularly on this adventure to New Mexico, are space enthusiasts from other walks of life joining the educators for this learning experience. So hopefully that will be some of you as well. In fact, we've kind of got two main events today. One is we're talking about the experience itself, and Dr. Kirby Runyon is going to share some previews of the kinds of astrogeology that we do on the trip, looking at sites in the New Mexico desert that are analogous to places on the moon, Mars, and elsewhere in the solar system. We also get to tour the Spaceport America and the Virgin Galactic facilities here, so we'll touch on that, but not our focus for today, because we also have some special guests with us today. Chris Sembroski and Erin Duncan-Sembroski are going to be joining us this time around. So this is your opportunity to be in the van with them as well. Chris, of course, is best known as a commercial astronaut, mission specialist on the Inspiration 4 mission. And his wife, Erin, is a middle school educator, one of us, I guess we could say. And so we're also thrilled to have her and her perspective here. So the second part of the program is a Q&A with Chris and Erin and Kirby and myself. So what do you want to ask a commercial astronaut? What do you want to ask a planetary scientist? And what questions do you have for Erin and myself as the educator representatives here as well? So we'll hear a little bit of a preview of the geology that we're going to be experiencing, and then we'll dive into the panel Q&A. I always like to find out a little bit more about all of you, though, and why you are here. I'm going to keep my eye on the chat here. But if you guys would go ahead and drop your responses in the chat to save time, we can't really have everybody in a group this big sharing out verbally. But if you can drop in the chat, what is the trajectory that has brought you here to a Earth and Space webinar in the middle of the summer in 2025? What brought you to hear from Chris and Erin and be able to ask questions? So as much as we can, we will tailor what's ahead to your responses. But I want to invite everybody to at least leave something in the chat about who you are and what brought you here. Be great to see the educators in the group and the enthusiasts to understand who we have with us. For my part, I'm a lifelong space enthusiast, former high school educator, longtime education technology coordinator. It's my career for 25 years. It's teaching teachers to use computers in meaningful ways. And over the last 5 years, that's been focused specifically on space education. So kind of bringing that lifelong love of space and my career in education technology together. And one of the things I'll do at the end of the session today is share a bunch of space education resources with you and sort of challenge everyone here, whether you're a formal educator or not, to take on that mantle of space educator in your own community. Because what we're all about is we're imagining a world as we look down on it from above, like Chris did, where we don't see borders, we don't see tribes and divisions and conflict, but where people are working together using science and technology and philosophy to solve problems and help others. And there's no reason your students, if you're educators that are with us, can't be doing that today as well as part of their classroom experience over the course of their time in school. We're talking about a situation where kids are actively engaged in making the world a better place. It turns out, by the way, research shows 93% of US students are interested in space. So this is a great antidote to the biggest problems in schools today when it comes to student disengagement or even teacher burnout. Much better to engage with something exciting and meaningful to our shared future together. So we're gonna look at this from the perspective of what are we doing to prepare the next generation for the reality they're going to graduate into. When we've got heavy lift rockets able to take 100 tons of cargo or say 100 passengers, not only to the moon or Mars, but anywhere on the planet in 45 minutes. This is going to change a number of industries, as you could imagine, just the same way that Earth observation satellites are already changing almost every industry, from agriculture to crime fighting to protecting the environment and urban planning. The idea that we're able to provide ubiquitous internet access from orbit is also transcending borders, regardless of despots, and geopolitical realities on the ground are changing. So, what are we doing to prepare kids for that? I went a little out of order. But ultimately, there's a workforce readiness, career readiness, workforce development element to this too. The space economy, as you can see from this infographic in 2022, has already surpassed $400 billion a year. The projection for hitting a trillion keeps getting shorter and shorter. They're saying 2030 right now. So really exciting that kids are going to be graduating into that. Almost every kid that's in the school system today is graduating into that reality. And that's what we're preparing them for. And I look at it as a little bit more ambitious perspective too, and that is we're preparing for humanity's future in space. And we don't just need scientists, engineers, and astronauts. We really need leaders who are ready to excel in a fast-moving, unpredictable future, where perhaps the ethical gray areas they're going to have to be making decisions in are challenging, and we've got to prepare kids for all of that to be good citizens and be good leaders in that context. So that's always the perspective I'm coming from. Certainly, we need to prepare kids with STEM skills, but also those skill sets and mindsets that'll help them be successful in that context. That said, one piece of that is certainly those STEM skills, and among them is astrogeology or planetary science. And I'm going to hand it over to Kirby. Kirby, I'm going to actually stop sharing. I'm sure you'll switch over to the same slide on your deck. But we're going to get a little preview of the kind of mini lectures that Kirby gives to us in the field during the experience as well. Kirby, go ahead and take it away. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Mark. Is my screen coming through?
Looks good.
Great. Well, as Mark said, I'm a planetary geologist. I'm actually a research scientist. That's what I do in my day job at the NASA-funded Planetary Science Institute. This picture is showing one of our stops that is visible from space, and it's a giant volcanic crater in very southern New Mexico that I'll talk more about later. But a little bit of my story is that I, like Mark, am a lifelong space nerd, and I followed that passion all the way through to getting a PhD in a space-related discipline, making that my profession now. It probably started, I don't remember exactly when, but as a 3-year-old at the Michigan Space and Science Center, trying out an Apollo spacesuit right there. And I pursued this passion doggedly and with a lot of determination, even being a physics major in college, getting C's on exams, sometimes barely scraping by, even though I worked my tail off for those C's. It didn't feel like enough until I found planetary geology. And I followed that all the way through to Johns Hopkins University, where I completed my PhD in 2017. But I also not only get to go out to New Mexico with you guys and other friends and explore kind of space on Earth landscapes, but I also get to do zero gravity flights as well. And Erin, I see that both of us have done those, so that's something cool we've gotten to do. And Chris, you have us all blown away with your time in zero G. But one of the motivations for these trips to New Mexico is that the landscapes that we visit are the exact same landscapes that commercial suborbital astronauts, so not quite reaching to the level of Chris, but suborbital astronauts with Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic get to see out the window from space. This is a view from Sir Richard Branson's spaceflight. And two of the places that we visit are the Carrizozo lava flow. I'm circling with my mouse, kind of that black squiggly area, and White Sands National Park, and also White Sands Army Missile Range. And I don't think it's enough to see the Earth from space. I want people to understand what they're seeing from space as they look at the Earth. And what's great about these locations is it's not just some of the most viewed landscapes on Earth from space, but they're also fantastic, what we call planetary analogs. That is, places that are analogous to features on the Moon and Mars. And I don't want to belabor the geology here because hopefully you'll come with us on our trip and you'll get a taste of the geology there. But we go to 4 different geologic land sites or landforms that are very similar to volcanic and wind-blown terrains across the solar system. The Moon and Mars, yes, but also places like Venus, Saturn's moon Titan, and even Pluto and comets. These are just a view of some of the sand dunes on Mars that I spent more time than I'd care to admit during my PhD years tracking meticulously how they blow in the wind. And with our spy satellite over Mars, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, we're actually able to see how these sand dunes blow in the wind. And you can even see this animation. The sand dunes, sure enough, they blow in the wind. And here's a view of a sand dune from the surface of Mars that my PhD advisor worked on. And of course, Saturn's moon Titan, clouded in this orange haze all the time, also has sand dunes on its surface. But we get to visit these places without leaving Earth. We get to go to White Sands National Park and explore the sand dunes right before, during, and after sunset. And that's intentional because it is a stunning place to see a different sunset every single time. There I am with a bunch of commercial astronauts point in our shadows are pointing to space. But places on the moon have been dominated by volcanic eruptions. A lot of people seem surprised when they learn that the moon has had a lot of volcanoes. And it's true, the moon is a volcanic planet. And this is astronaut Dave Scott exploring a now cooled river of lava. This is Hadley Rill at the Apollo 15 landing site, sort of near the right eye of the man in the moon. And once upon a time, this was an incandescent, red hot, glowing river of lava. And Mark, one thing I know that you've said on past trips is that understanding more of the geology has helped you see the moon not as an abstraction, but as a place,
Yeah,
or maybe
absolutely.
a collection of places. And hopefully, this is one of those things that helps people associate place with fantastic landscapes on the moon. Jupiter's moon, Io, constantly getting squished and squeezed from the gravity of Jupiter and other moons. It has even more volcanoes than Earth going off at any given second right now. Tavashtar volcano is one of the most active volcanoes on Io. Every time a spacecraft has flown by or a telescope from Earth has looked at Io, Tavashtar is erupting. And we get to go to three different volcanoes: Aden Crater, Kilbourne Hole, and Carrizozo Lava Flow, each of which gives a different perspective of how volcanic eruptions behave. They're all a little bit different. They're all visible from space. Here we are at Carrizozo Lava Flow. If you come on the trip, you'll get to explore this thing. This is kind of a giant lava pimple that is officially called a tumulus. And we get to explore the tumuli, these inflated lava flows. Here we are exploring something called an inflation pit. These places are on the moon, Mars, and probably on Io as well. And some of these volcanoes we visit are stand-ins for a lot of Mars's giant shield volcanoes. The most famous of which is Olympus Mons, but there's other volcanoes too, like Ascrius Mons or Pavonis Mons or Arcia Mons. And I think it's Pavonis Mons, if you've read Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars trilogy, that the Mars space elevator is on the summit of, I believe, Pavonis Mons. So here's a simulated view from Google Earth, and we get to explore the Mars's volcanoes in miniature at a place called Aden Crater. And it's got this uplifted rim. There's spattered lava everywhere. It is in the middle of nowhere, and it is truly Mars on Earth. One of the other craters is called Kilbourne Hole. This is a place where NASA's Apollo astronauts trained, and also the upcoming Artemis astronauts are training, like right now. So is Aden Crater, for that matter. And so I have a lot of my colleagues who are involved with astronaut training, NASA astronaut training, take regular trips here. And so I also get to take regular trips there with people like you. This is down inside the crater. This is a geologic wonderland for looking at the different timing of different geologic processes that have shaped the surface of Earth. And these are the same types of processes that shape the surfaces of the moon, Mars, Io, Titan, and other places around the solar system. One of the fun things we do is we kind of go on a real life treasure hunt looking for the mineral olivine. Olivine is this really pretty green mineral, and it's only exposed at Earth's surface when it's been brought up from deep inside Earth's mantle, where it's extremely abundant and common. But once it's exposed to the surface on Earth, within a few thousand years, or maybe even a few million years, it actually rots into clay. Clay is rotten rocks, as we'll discuss. So, Mark, I think that's wrapping it up for me, and I'll pass it on to either you or Chris or Erin or whoever's next. Mark, you're still muted.
That is so 2020 of me. Uh, I'll take it from here temporarily. But thank you, Kirby, for a quick preview of the graduate level geology lectures we'll get, or I guess perhaps undergraduate, but university level geology lectures we'll get with Kirby in the field. And getting to these places is part of the adventure, folks. So
That's right.
hearing it in the field is pretty awesome.
That's
So
right. I forgot to mention, I give a mini college lecture at every stop about not just how this formed on Earth, but how it has formed, similar places have formed on the moon, Mars, and elsewhere.
awesome. So we also have a couple other guests with us, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, and Kirby and I have both sort of rushed through our material so that we could leave plenty of time for this. And I still have those free resources to share with you at the end of the session with a little wrap-up matter. But we can take good 25, 30 minutes here if we need it. And you guys have good questions and the discussion carries itself here to hear from Chris and Erin and to field questions. So I want to start by inviting Chris and Erin to share with us um, their answer. I kind of gave a quick version of my answer to why space education is important today, whether that's for students or really for anyone as lifelong learners in today's reality. So why is space education important? And I guess a follow-up to that, why are you guys joining us? And I will stop sharing so that everybody can see you.
Uh, well, thanks for joining, allowing us to join today. And I think I'm going to let you start off and share
Great.
if that works out. Yeah. Let the
Well, to start off, yeah, thanks for allowing us to join with you today. I'm really excited about this adventure that we're going to go on together soon. So I am going into my 13th year of teaching middle school, and I'm actually an English language arts and social studies teacher. And I kind of figured, why let the science teachers have all the fun? ELA teachers have a place here too. And so part of my responsibility is really to spark curiosity, critical thinking, and global awareness in my students. And I see space education as a powerful tool for achieving that. I see space education bridging science, bridging history, innovation, imagination, and grounding all of that in real human experience. If you think about like from the Apollo missions to the Artemis program, the rise of commercial space exploration, it's no longer just a part of history. It's part of the present and it's part of the future. And I believe wholeheartedly that students deserve to be a part of that story. And so I'm joining the Earth and Space experience because I want to bring that sense of wonder and relevance back to the classroom in a tangible way. And I think it's one thing to read about, Mars or the moon in a textbook. And I think it's another thing to like run your hands across some of those, as he described it, like a lava pimple. I love that. Or to stand in a place that is visible from space and seen by some of these private astronauts in orbit.
yeah.
And so I just think this experience allows me to make the abstract concrete for both myself and my students. I think it's a really unique opportunity to have your expertise, Dr. Wagner, and your expertise, Dr. Runyon, to really make this accessible and empower me as an educator to integrate space science into my own humanities curriculum. And I was thinking about ways of doing that. It's whether I'm writing narratives from the perspective of like future space explorers, or we're having a debate or a Socratic seminar about the ethical dilemma about colonizing other planets and things like that. And so I just think that this is a really great way to engage young minds in bold new ways.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you're talking my language right now, Erin. As a former high school English literature teacher myself, that's I'm a big proponent for the humanities in space, and I love hearing Socratic seminar and all of that coming. But the idea that yeah, we've really got to prepare people to engage with the ethics, the governance issues, the
Mhm.
need for sustainability and things like that as we move into this next stage for humanity. So thank you
Yeah.
for being here and thank you for articulating all that.
Yeah.
Chris, you,
Yeah.
you look like you got something to add.
Well, I might. I mean, I mean, on the education side, Erin is absolutely spot on with all of it. And I liked what you guys were talking about earlier and how students are deeply inspired by space and encouraged
Mhm.
by all the things they hear about space. Um, and I think just, my opportunity to come to join you all is primarily, it sounds like now, just to bring you along to let you have this experience. But no, what, traveling around the Earth, for those 3 days that I was in orbit, and looking out the window, uh, it was giving me one perspective of what Earth looks like. What's it like to experience Earth from that vantage point. And uh, when I was looking back at Earth, I felt more closely connected to the things that I was seeing than ever before. And this is a chance to interact and be amongst all those things that I was seeing from space and seeing how that local geology affects this broader pattern and dynamic Earth that I was experiencing from orbit. And so I think that's going to be really fun to share with you all that come on this trip to talk about and share, when we're looking at something very specific, what does it look like, maybe in your mind's eye, if you can imagine if stepping back, a couple hundred miles from orbit to see how it fits into the broader scheme of things, and see how all the systems work together. Because you can't just look at one volcano in isolation, right? As you were mentioning, the moons around the gas giants are constantly being affected by the gravity from the planet that they're orbiting. And that's so true about the overall system dynamic of how Earth continuously moves through the year through its orbit, whether it's through weather patterns that so happen to look like they're spanning continents, or you're starting to see how land interacts with the water and from the sunlight. Uh, and then selfishly, I want to see what those sunsets look like that you described a little bit
Yeah.
before too, because that one picture reminded me a lot of what we were seeing every 90 minutes, as were able to see sunsets and sunrises across the horizon, every time we crossed the orbit.
Awesome. I've got a question for Kirby about the sunset, but I'm going to put a pin in it for later. But yeah, that's fantastic, Chris. And it actually you've reminded me, dislodged from my memory, of a story that Richard Garriott talks about, a commercial astronaut talks about looking down at the Earth and seeing his home in Texas and
Mm.
and seeing like the distance from his town to the beach, and he's like, I've driven that, I know how many hours it is, and now I'm looking down on it, and he said he suddenly had this like visceral experience of the scale of the Earth, and
Yeah.
and it makes me feel like that's I haven't been to orbit or suborbital, but walking around in a crater and walking around on those lava flows is a totally different experience than studying them in any other way or looking at pictures. And I imagine I hope it adds to your synthesis of your memories in orbit
Oh, that absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be amazing. Uh, knowing I've seen the different colors and contrasts of, seeing snow-topped mountains next to the Gobi Desert and the Pacific Ocean, and trying to relate that to exactly what is it we are seeing that in those exact moments in detail. Yeah, all perspectives matter from the macro to the micro, and this is a way to kind of connect the dots and then share that experience with others to say, hey, I know we're looking at this very unique formation right here, and tomorrow we're going to be just an hour or two down the road from space. Maybe we can think about, are they connected in some
Yeah.
sort of way?
Yeah.
So what I want to do now is open it up to everyone to ask questions of Chris and Erin, or Kirby, or myself. But feel free to drop questions in the chat, or
Oh,
use.
and really quick, Liam,
Oh
I
yeah.
just want to say thanks for posting Dragon's video right now. Thanks, much appreciated. Yeah, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
very welcome. You should be seeing these on your ISS
Oh,
above
wow.
Chris if you
That's
still
correct.
have it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep,
yeah,
it
Yeah,
is.
a whole new camera system there on
right.
the space station. But yeah,
Beautiful.
So
this is
awesome.
Crew 10. Going to be
Hey,
returning next week.
Liam, as long as we got you on mic, do you have a question for Chris or Erin?
Oh, sure. Yeah. In fact, I'll switch back over to me if this camera's working. Hi there. Right. Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure to be in the room with you, so to speak. Here, Erin as well. Just so great to hear your connection with education and what you shared about how you don't have to be a science teacher to have a place at the table that other people just write off as and I've seen it happen in schools where the principal or the thing is, if you're not in the science thing, what are you doing, doing anything in this area? I've had teachers say that that's what they've had to butt up against. So there's two questions there is, have you, Erin, have you had that kind of experience at all, or have you heard of that where it's hard for someone like you who's not in that area that really gets able to do it, or is there pushback that you've experienced at all?
Um, I would say yes and no. I definitely think that oftentimes we think of space and we think of like everything that that encompasses, whether it's space travel, planetary research, all the way to geology. That's like the science department. And I think sometimes in schools and as educators, we can get too focused on this is my area and that's
Mm,
your area. And I think it really takes us as educators, but also as administrators and things like that, to say, no, these are all connected.
Mhm.
And how can we use topics like space and make this relevant across all of the different subject areas? I think sometimes I shock people because I do put launches up live on my Promethean board at the
Oh,
front of the classroom.
yeah, it's my fault, I'm sure.
I'm often sharing things that I just think are so cool and mind blowing with my students because I do think that there are times when our students see space as something far away.
Mhm.
And the only pathway to space is you either win a contest from a billionaire or essentially win the lottery to become an astronaut. And I think it's really important for us to keep instilling the excitement of what space can be,
Yeah.
and that there are so many different pathways to get there. Cyan Proctor would say we need poets in space. I do think we need to have ethical discussions, right? Yeah,
this is
I love that.
Cyan's mug,
Um, I
yeah,
do think we
artwork on
need to
here.
have ethical discussions about colonizing other planets. I think we can write stories and connect this to what's happening, not just in our history with social studies, but really thinking about the innovation, again, like that imagination. It's all connected.
Mhm.
And it doesn't happen in a bubble within a science classroom. And so, again, I'm going on and on, but I'll send cool space news out to my staff with links, and I'm like, hey, you should share this with your students. Again, I show videos of launches. I'm talking about, did you know what they're building on the moon? I try to get kids excited when I say, at some point, we're going to be able to go up into orbit, wait for the Earth to rotate, and then land in, I don't know, London, and maybe it'll take us, a fraction of the time that it would to fly in an airplane. And so just to reiterate that excitement for them and for my colleagues.
Thanks for owning that. That's what I got. You just like there's no I don't belong here thing. with what you're doing, and I think that's a great learning for all of us to really take from what you've shared. So thank you for being that. Sort of, I just see you as being an epic, bright beacon in your school, and without you being there, I don't think students would have the kind of connection that you're brokering between them and the future of human spaceflight and everything that means. So, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I kind of feel like it's his fault. He turned me into a little bit of a space nerd, and so I get
Hmm.
excited about this stuff too. And it's something we share with our daughters. It's something that I love sharing with students, and we like geeking out about stuff. And if we can get
Hmm.
other people excited about space, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to
Awesome.
call back to that at the end of the session when we're the call to action might be relevant there. And thank you,
Next
Dean,
person. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you so
for
much.
kicking us off.
All
And
right.
Aaron, I love what you were saying too about the power of stories. And I talk a lot about the inspiration of science fiction in all of this because we've got 100 years of very imaginative people thinking through these problems already. And I love the idea that you can engage kids in that too. We're going to go to, looks like the queue on my end here looks like Logan, Edward, and Marufa. So, Logan, we'll kick it over to you. What is your question for the panel?
So I am an emblem historian and a space educator. I use the origin story of mission patches to spark that curiosity and to create a bridge to STEAM, to promote career and degrees in STEAM. So my standard question, and this would be directed to you, Chris, is what specific influence did you have over the inspiration for Mission Patch? And if you didn't have an influence, do you have a story to tell about the creation of the design that I can actually? Currently collaborating with language art teachers and history teachers and scientists. And so I would love to convey some aspect of your story
Great.
along with the Mission Patch.
Well, that's a great question, and I had nothing to do with the inspiration for a patch, but I came into the mission and it was already the plan was 99% in place as to what the overall mission was going to be about, what we were going to be focusing on, how we're going to help support St. Jude. And so directly on that patch, I didn't have a role, but what it means to me is like when I look at the inspiration for a patch, I see the four astronauts. I know which helmet is mine just because that's the way we constantly ordered ourselves by seat number. So like, okay, seat number four over here is on my right side, your left side. So, but I mean, I look at this patch and I realize that there's Haley, Jared, Cyan, and myself kind of just sitting in the capsule that way. But we did get the opportunity to design our own individual emblems to put on our own coins. One side would be the inspiration for patch, and then each of us crew members were able to personalize our own coin because each seat was designed to represent a different aspect of humanity, from hope, leadership, prosperity, and generosity. And so, since I was sitting in a seat that was labeled generosity, I was able to design a coin and really bring some personal elements into it that showcase, where we're from up here in the Pacific Northwest. Hi, put Mount Rainier in the backdrop of it because two things we can practically see it every time we walk out of our door, as well as that was the big mission objective early on in training for our crew to climb up. And then put some very personal elements in there that mean a lot to the two of us, as well as connecting it back towards the broader mission of what St. Jude does by thinking of others and trying to remember that we have to take care of this planet as a very fragile and intertwined ecosystem. And so that thought process went back and forth between the two of us, as well as with our friend Erin Bonilla, who helped us design the coin, the image. And it was really neat to be able to see the common elements and the common themes shared between the various different coins that were developed by the different crew members on board. And it was all unified together by having the reverse being the common inspiration for mission patch, which is very meaningful to me too.
Yeah.
The coin means more to me, I think, than the patch does. I mean, obviously I'm repping the patch and I love that, but the coin was very personal and represented the Pacific Northwest,
Yeah.
which we love, and yeah, more about like our family and how we love to go hiking and kayaking and be out in nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a Crosstown resident myself here in the state of Washington, I totally understand.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I,
Thank
I
you.
love it. I had a good sense of Logan's question, but really didn't anticipate it going that direction. So thank you both for.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not well understood that even though there are mission patches, there's also as many medallions that are made, personal medallions as well as medallions made of the emblem of the mission itself that is carried into space. So I was not aware of that for the crew of Inspiration 4. So thank you for adding to my collection of stories.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Awesome. Well, let's go over to Edward. I want to also invite others after we hear from Marufa. If you have additional questions and we have additional time, it'd be great to dive into them. But Edward, you've been waiting patiently. What's your question for the panel?
Well, I'm from the Apollo generation, actually pre-Apollo, Sputnik. I was in high school at the time. I wasn't terrified. I knew we had a project called Vanguard, and we're going to get a 20-pound ball up there at some point. But I don't have a question, but I'm a bearer of what I think is very, very good news for the space exploration community. News that I get impression in talking to people the past few weeks around the country, news that most people in the space exploration community are unaware of. It should have been a huge headline. Here's the news. We want to reach out to a lot of people in our country and around the world who favor science, space exploration, going to the moon, going to Mars. CBS News a few weeks ago released the results of a pretty good poll they took. They're generally US CBS News Gov. They're generally very good at polling. They're within 3 points usually of being right on the money. They polled people across the country, different backgrounds, a good poll. How many are in favor of sending American astronauts to the moon? Who is in favor? How many are in favor of sending American astronauts to Mars?
Mm-hmm.
The results, and this is a huge change. And I was worried about the results because of some problems we've had with the person affiliated with the Starship, SpaceX. A few problems there. 65% said they favor we should send American astronauts, scientists to Mars. 67% in favor we should send astronauts, scientists, to go to the moon. That to me, I was shocked, pleasantly so surprised, and so I'm really looking forward to the Star Trek, the one in Las Vegas next week, which I'm going there. I'm with the Mars Society. We're going to have an information booth, and the people there will be 25,000. It'll be their biggest one yet. And the people who are going to that convention, there are a lot of academics, scientists, engineers, educators. There are also thousands and thousands of just ordinary, common working people from all kinds of occupations, from being truck drivers to workers at restaurants, you name it, who think we should go to Mars, who think we should go to the moon, and who favor science and are opposed to these attacks by
Yeah.
the federal government. So
Yeah.
I'm a bearer of good news. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know if
Well, no, I
everyone
think
here
you're
was aware
absolutely
of it,
right.
and I thought I don't have the link up on it, but you can probably find it under you can probably find it. Google it.
Well,
The
Edward, I'm going
CBS
to
Thanks,
News
Edward.
Report.
interrupt
That's
and I'm
really
going to turn
encouraging to
this
hear
into
about
a
that.
That's
question
it.
for Chris and Erin anyway.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
Do you guys have any reactions to this kind of news?
Well, first off, I also am like a huge Trekkie,
uh,
so yes.
yeah. But
Speaking
yeah,
of the
on top,
inspiration of stories.
yeah. But on top of that, I mean, it's reflecting what we're seeing in multiple areas as well, multiple sectors. Having at the peak of COVID, Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama, put out a call saying we're about to shut our doors for good. We're going bankrupt. To now, where they've just recently built a brand new facility just 2 years ago, and they are completing another skills training center thanks to some generous donations, and attendance has never been higher. There's an inspiration and a desire to explore and train for space, and I think that's true across the spectrum, across the whole country.
It is great to see, and it is great to hear the news that highlights the commonalities that we have,
Yeah,
and this sheer number of people that are interested in the kind of future we're talking about today. Let me throw it
absolutely.
over to Marufa then, because you've also been waiting patiently with a question. And one more time, I'll invite the others. We'll have a few minutes left if anybody wants to step in and ask something of Chris or Erin or Kirby or myself. But Marufa, fire away.
Thank you. So exciting to hear all this. So I'm Marufa Bhuya, and I'm joining from Hawaii. Aloha from Hawaii. Still a sunny day. I founded this company named Everest Innovation Lab in Hawaii. So basically, Hawaii is very popular for space, right? It's like almost living in a space, living in Hawaii because it's like so far from the mainland and other countries. So my question would be, well, since 2020, I've been like self-funding my company, and I really enjoy interacting with school kids, judging projects, inspiring them about space. So my question would be, what are your projects, the current projects you're working on, or like looking at the future, what you were thinking to invest? Because we have so much limited time per day. Like, how do you divide your time and typical daily routines? Just brief.
Sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Did you have something or I mean, I have
Yeah,
something.
you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, well, education is hugely important to me, and I really maybe just because I enjoy telling a good story about going to space, and I enjoy seeing the connection that you can make with kids, whether it's K through 12 or beyond, or even in younger ages too. I had a lot of fun, telling a story of space to my daughter's preschool when she was of that age, and making visits. They get excited about seeing just rockets and talking astronauts, and in the overall big areas that you can talk about generally. But I'm working one of the projects I'm working on, continuing to stay engaged, obviously, with Space Camp, as that's close and personal to my heart. That's where my spacesuit lives. It lives there in Huntsville, Alabama, at the Space and Rocket Center's museum. But also, I work with at Embry-Riddle as an adjunct faculty member to help teach courses in space, but also at Deep Space Initiative with Blue Origin astronaut Sarah Sabry, where we work on connecting people from all over the world together to do a 6 month collaboration to investigate space topics, whether it's human space flight, space architecture, space transportation systems, or policy and law, and connect them with different groups and provide a mentor to get them an opportunity to internationally collaborate and dive into a subject they may not directly have access to being outside the US. So those are things that I see as very important because it gives me a chance to not only just imagine I'm in the places where these people come from, but getting a chance to see what it's like for the people who come from these places I saw from all over the earth, to understand their perspective and to see what they're interested in and see how valuable and credible their perspectives are when it comes to space education and research.
Mhm.
So those are the two big ones I'm working on at the moment in terms of education. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, when you're married to a teacher, you're always the assistant to the teacher on call 24/7.
Yes.
So there you are.
Well, I definitely appreciate your focus on and investment, your own time investment in education, and
Yeah.
appreciate those international perspectives too. Erin, if you had something you want to add, otherwise we'll go to Ellie.
I I just think that, with the commercial space industry, I think more and more people are getting to experience the overview effect than
Mm.
ever before. And again, I think your mission, Inspiration for, and with all credit to Chris, but I think he really opened people's eyes that if this guy can do it, and I mean that in the sense of like
I was known to
he
filibuster
was,
too, but yeah, that's okay. All right.
but like I know he's a space nerd, but he was not a NASA, selected astronaut, nor was he an astrophysicist or something at the time. And so I think Inspiration 4 really opened the door to get people to thinking, if these people can do it, if this guy can go to space, like, you know, are there other avenues and are there other opportunities? And Blue Origin, I mean, I feel like they're sending people up to space every week at this point. And so I think the more people that get to experience the overview effect and how it changed them, their perspective on the planet, their perspective on humanity, I think that stuff is like gold. And I would reach out to anyone who has experienced the overview effect, and I would encourage them to come talk to my students.
Mm.
How did it change you? What perspective do you have about the planet? What advice do you have for the future generations? Because I believe wholeheartedly that it is not just going to be for billionaires or government astronauts anymore. And I want to hear from more people that have had that perspective out looking
Mm.
down on planet Earth. And those are the stories that I want to hear. And those are the stories that I want my students to hear, that we are a small marble in a big black sky, and we are all connected. And this is our
Mm.
one planet. This is our one spaceship through outer space, and we need to take care of it and protect it, but also take care of one another. And so I want to hear those stories. And I mean, how many astronauts are there now? But take your pick. You've got the suborbital and orbital, and I would reach out and I would ask them to come talk to my students. Yeah.
Many astronauts, Chris included, are so generous with their time when it comes to those invites. All right, we've got time for one more question. So I'm gonna throw it over to Ellie, and just so everybody knows, I'll pipe in at about 5 till the top of the hour here, so that I can share those resources and wrap things up. But Ellie, fire away.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ellie Lohr, and I'm also a Space Camp alumni,
Nice.
2013 Team
Congrats.
Mentories, and also analog astronaut. And I was just wondering what it was like to, were you able to do experiments on Dragon or like teach kids on Dragon? Like, I wasn't really seeing that much of that during Inspiration 4, but I was just wondering, is it like a big enough space to actually do that?
It is. I mean, so looking back, it was so fast. Like from being told, from not expecting to go to space to actually flying space was 6 months.
Mhm.
So looking back now, there were several other things I would love the opportunity to go back and do, but there was room. I played with magnet tiles in space to see how it would form its own structure floating across the capsule. We did a lot of medical experiments on ourselves, however, from blood draws to ultrasound checks, using a handheld ultrasound device that plugs into your iPhone. Um, and we did a lot of biological and like bio blood experiments that way.
Mhm.
And then in terms of engaging with students, we didn't engage as much with students as I think we could have. That was an opportunity that future missions will have to make up for. But we did connect with with the patients that were at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. They had a chance to ask questions, and we gave them answers. And there's so much that you want to do and could do in space, and it's really you maximize the time and you enjoy what you're doing up there while you're up there, um, and then just try to bring back down to Earth as much of it as you possibly can, which is why I ended up taking as many pictures as I did. Um, so, but yeah, I would have loved the opportunity to have some more time to think about what I could do as engagement with folks on the ground that way. I think there are plenty more opportunities coming up in the future for our future missions. That's why I think it's so cool that ISS astronauts continuously, you know, do like these ham radio calls with students, or I think they dialed into the AIAA Ascend conference this past week as well. So I love that there's that emphasis on connecting with people and inspiring folks.
That's awesome, and that's a great note to wrap up this panel on. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and Chris and Erin, you guys are certainly welcome to stick around and maybe even past the hour. I did have a question for Kirby and Chris about the sunset, but I want to make sure we wrap up on time. So if you guys are sticking around, I'll go ahead and ask that. But for all of our participants, I really want to go back really to what Erin was saying earlier and challenge everyone to embrace that mantle of being a space educator in your community, whether you're a formal educator or not. And again, like half the people that come with us on our trips and even that take my online courses are not formal educators, but they're people that are interested in these topics and want to be a part of it. And so that may be you, and I want to encourage you guys to take that on. So I'm going to share a few resources with you, and I'll follow up by email, and I'll drop the links in here in just a minute. But I'm going to give everybody a PDF copy of my book. You can also get one on Amazon if you like, but want to be sure that I'm sharing that freely with those of you that attended the webinar. And this is a series of papers I wrote when I was studying at the Kepler Space Institute, focused on preparing students for humanity's multi-planet future. When it was released in 2022, I also had the opportunity to work with the Space Prize Foundation to put together a fairly ambitious curriculum, and it's aimed at high school students, but happily convinced them to share that as an open education resource so you can use it with any kid or any learner that's got the reading level and interest level. Getting into why space is important to people on Earth. What are those skill sets and mindsets that I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar? Certainly, there's an introduction to space education, history of space exploration, but it really gets into stuff that you can't just find everywhere with the new space economy and sustainability and governance and ethics and some of those elements of the humanities in space that we were talking about earlier as well. If you're interested in networking around that, please search for the Space Educator Network on Facebook. That's where I share a lot of resources. Some of the other prolific members share resources there, and it's just a free group on Facebook with a few hundred educators in it. So I invite you to join us there. Couple other free resources. Again, I'll send links in the email. Chris actually was with us on a panel in one of the early space education summits. We've done 7 of them now. Many of the astronaut opening panels, many of the closing fireside chats with Frank White, who wrote the overview effect, for instance, and a lot of the sessions are online. So you guys can find that at the Space Education Summit site and the YouTube channel. Similarly, I ran a 18 episode series, guest speaker series when I was working with Space Prize. That's also freely available. So this is people from all across the space industry, many of them women, because we were focused on empowering young women with that program. So not just scientists, engineers, and astronauts, but also spacecraft interior designers and space artists and space historians and space lawyers. So a much better sense of these are hour-long, sort of adult panels, so it might not be for all kids, but certainly Erin or anybody else that wants their kids to hear those messages, you can take advantage of those videos. And then lastly, I'm sharing a spreadsheet with about 100 other space education resources. A group of interns helped put this together a couple of years ago, and we've been slowly but surely adding to it. And if there's something missing, you can certainly make an addition yourself as well. So just wanted to make sure everybody got to leave with those. And then, of course, I want to make sure you all have an opportunity to sign up for the Earth and Space Experience. This is the in the field experience with Kirby. Chris and Erin are coming with us this time. This is happening November 7 to 9. It's a 3-day weekend, essentially, if you can get Friday off. We spend the first day at Spaceport America, actually. We get to visit the Spaceport Authority, get their STEM tour. We get to visit Virgin Galactic. They are incredibly generous to the teachers that we bring in. You'll get an opportunity probably to see Spaceship Unity, and they'll be in the middle of transitioning to the new Delta class spacecraft in November when we're back. So we might be able to see some new stuff. And then we spend the next 3 days exploring places in the New Mexico desert, like the ones Kirby was sharing with you, that are analogous to places on the moon, Mars, and elsewhere in the solar system. Places like Carrizozo Lava Flow or Kilbourne Hole. Actually, I think that's Aden Crater, and the gypsum sand dunes at White Sands, which are analogous to sand dunes, gypsum sand dunes around the North Pole of Mars. And my question for Kirby, although we can address it after the hour here, is uh, sunsets on at White Sands make the gypsum look orange, and I wonder what it looks like on Mars. Are we getting a similar experience to that?
What's funny about Mars is that the colors are reversed from Earth. So during the day, the sky is kind of red, and at night the area right around the sun is kind of bluish. Uh, but the colors are more muted. They're reversed and muted compared to what we have on Earth. So sunset at White Sands might be like Mars at noon.
That's kind of what I was wondering, but that is why we have Kirby with us, because he's been studying Mars his entire professional life. So that's fantastic. Thanks, Kirby. So that URL is arieslearning.com/earth and space. You can sign up there. We're also doing a special deal for anybody that signs up this week. It's going to be the return of the Aries Learning flight jackets. These look great with the black and the red logos and the high visibility orange on the inside. So if you guys sign up to join us this week, you'll be getting a Aries Learning flight jacket with that as well. And I want to mention that starting in September, I'm running another cohort of the online course. It's a great complement to the trip. It's a Zoom meeting every week for 12 weeks. We go through all the modules of that curriculum we were looking at before. We go through my book and a ton of new activities that you can turn around and use with kids or use with others in your community. You can get all of that for 99 bucks a month over the course of a year. You pay for the trip. I'll throw in the jacket and the course if you choose the orbital level membership. So what this also doubles as is a payment plan. So you don't have to come up with the full $12.99 for the experience today. If you can do 99 bucks a month, you pay for it over the course of a year, and we throw in the jacket and the course. So let's light this candle. Hope everybody here is going to take on that mantle of being a space educator and preparing students in your community and those in your network for the growing space economy and for humanity's future in space. We're going to wrap it up right there. But like I said, I'll stick around for a few minutes. I imagine Kirby will. Chris and Erin, you're certainly invited to. But we'll wrap things up for the recording at this point. Thank you, everybody, for your questions and your participation and joining us live.